Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Michael and Dale at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. 8 wildfires are burning in the Los Angeles County area, including the Pacific Palisades and Sylmar neighborhoods of Los Angeles, and another near the city of Pasadena. Hundreds of thousands of residents are under evacuation orders as the L.A. area wildfires threaten at least 28,000 structures. More than 3 million without power in the Los Angeles County area yesterday afternoon, according to Southern California Edison. The fires are being pushed by Santa Ana winds from the east, and officials warn the worst is yet to come. We have the latest updates for you in today's show. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass is facing a huge backlash over her wildfire absence and fire department budget cuts that have made fighting the fire that much harder. President-elect Donald Trump arrived at Capitol Hill yesterday to talk about strategy on the budget, taxes, and the border with Senate GOP leaders, and Republican attorney generals are doubling down on the Biden administration lawsuits as the president prepares to leave office in just a couple of weeks. I guess this is just one for the road.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President-elect Donald Trump paid a visit to Capitol Hill yesterday to meet with Senate Republicans and their leadership to gear up for his second term. We have the details for you. But first, the Los Angeles area is grappling with a relentless fight against 6 raging wildfires. It is amazing. It's fueled by intense Santa Ana winds, dry conditions. These fires have already forced thousands to evacuate, and there's no signs of containment yet. It is sad to watch. The fires, Palisades, Eaton, Hearst, Olivas, Lydia, and Woodley, erupted Tuesday night and have since scorched over 25,000 acres combined. The largest, which is the Palisades fire, has engulfed over 15,000 acres alone, leaving neighborhoods looking like something out of a war zone. It is horrible. Over 30,000 residents have been ordered to evacuate, with shelters opening across the region, including gyms, places of worship. The Pasadena Convention Center, Captain Kelleher of the Los Angeles Fire Department, Sheila Kelleher, described the conditions as dramatic and devastating, with winds gusting up to 100 miles per hour. The winds are not just fanning the flames, they're also grounding critical firefighting aircraft, leaving crews to rely on inadequate residential water systems, which is another story in itself. But for those who've stayed behind, officials say the danger is real. The fire captain explained how residential water systems can't support the demands of a prolonged firefight, and without air support, the battle becomes even tougher. Crews from across California, even from out of state, we're told, are answering the call for help. Reinforcements are expected to arrive today and tomorrow and over the weekend. Kelleher stressed at the importance of mutual aid, saying that when the call goes out, other agencies step up. But the fight's far from over. The Eaton fire has already consumed over 10,000 acres and could grow if winds don't die down soon. It's like it's the perfect storm. They have dry conditions, these wind gusts of 100 miles per hour, just fanning the flames, and they're running out of water. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Exhausted crews are battling the flames. Some firefighters working 48 hours straight. Officials are asking residents to check with California Fire Resources online and evacuation updates and shelter information. And one thing that is interesting that I never thought about, but you see in some of the footage from some of the networks, you see cars just lined up and down the road. Some of them have just been pushed over out of the road. Officials are asking people to, when they leave their cars, to please just leave the keys in them. It's become a problem because some people have abandoned their cars, locked them, and left them, and officials can't move them. So they're literally having to take tractors and just push them out of the way. You know, there's a long list of reasons why these fires should not have taken place. Had Gavin Newsom and the liberals running California been more focused on taking care of Californians than worrying about people in Ukraine, they literally Los Angeles sent firefighting equipment to Ukraine because that was the thing to do among the Democrats. Now they need that equipment to fight their own fires, to save their own lives. And Los Angeles Fire Department has a history of DEI hires, and particularly in leadership positions. There'll be plenty of time to discuss the idiocy of the left once the fires are out and people are safe. But there's going to be a lot of questions for Gavin Newsom to answer. And this might be the beginning of the end for the California governor. President-elect Donald Trump was on Capitol Hill yesterday. A meeting with Senate Republicans to gear up for his second term in office. The president-elect's meeting with GOP senators, including leadership and members of the Republican Policy Committee, it really shows you the push that he's going to make to get his administration's agenda through quickly. Here's some of the things that they talked about. Trump emphasized his desire for a single, powerful reconciliation bill addressing key priorities. Now, this is the first debate that's come up because some legislative leaders have said that they would rather do this in 2, maybe 3 bills, tackling border security first, rather than doing one large bill with all of it in that will take them through the spring to get it done. Of course, the priorities is border security. They're going to renew and expand the Trump-era tax cuts. They want to eliminate taxes on tips. And energy independence. Policies aimed at bolstering American energy production. Those are the 3 items that are top on the list and that they want to get in this bill quickly. Trump on Truth Social called for quick and unified Republican action to deliver these legislative victories. He vowed to use tariffs and other measures to offset revenue losses from the proposed tax cuts. Now, discussion was focused on the reconciliation process, which allows passage of budget-related legislation with a simple majority, bypassing the 60-vote filibuster threshold. This is going to be a tightrope walk here. Senate Majority Leader John Thune's initial plan for 2 separate bills, one on the border security and one on taxes, conflicts with what President Trump said yesterday, asking members of the GOP leadership to lump all of this into one big bill. Thune's initial plan was to have 2 bills, one on the border security, another on taxes. Of course, Trump yesterday made it very clear he wants a large bill. He keeps talking about this massive bill. Senate Republicans, including key senators like Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, they expressed support for working collaboratively to advance Trump's agenda. Cassidy stated, "It's important that we work together to pass a conservative, pro-America agenda." Yes, it is important, Senator. It's actually, you don't have a choice because the American people gave Trump a mandate. They sent you a message to do just that. Trump's visit yesterday, of course, coincided with his attendance at former President Jimmy Carter's funeral, a mix of ceremonial and political duties. Trump and Senate Republicans, again, prioritizing swift action on legislative goals to capitalize on their control of the 2 chambers. And it's going to be interesting to watch the reconciliation process. It's a rare opportunity for them to enact significant policy changes without Democrat support, which they know they're not going to get. So what's next? What's the next step? Senate Republicans say that they will work to reconcile differing approaches to President Trump's proposed priorities and the scope of the legislation. They feel like that they're building momentum. Trump's continuing engagement with GOP lawmakers is expected to solidify support And he's keeping the pressure on them, and we need to as well. We got to keep those phone calls to senators' offices and emails to their offices, letting them know we expect them to support Donald Trump. Further details on the legislative framework is anticipated over the coming weeks. Trump's likely to champion these efforts at some of his upcoming rallies and on social media. He's going to be very active in this process. He's going to be out there asking you and me to keep the pressure on not only the GOP senators, but the House members as well, and those middle-of-the-road Democrats in the House. It's not out of the question that we might pick up some votes over there, because I think they understand what the American people have asked them to do. And you get a Democrat who's in a congressional district that is more center than some of the left-leaning ones, they could be in trouble in the midterms. I think we saw a glimpse yesterday of just how involved Donald Trump is going to be in the coming weeks and months to push his legislative agenda through the U.S. Congress. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. One other quick note on the California fires from yesterday. While touring the wildfire damage and standing next to California Governor Gavin Newsom, President Joe Biden made some off-topic remarks that are grabbing quite a bit of attention, and not in a good way, as you might imagine. Now, let me set the stage here. Joe Biden was there to address the disaster, sign a declaration, and provide federal aid. He said, quote, "We're prepared to do anything and everything as long as it takes to contain these fires and help reconstruct, make sure that we can get back to normal." But what followed was another example of Joe Biden's inability to stay focused on the crisis at hand. Instead of sticking to the topic, Biden veered off script, announcing that he had just become a great-grandfather. Yes, folks, right in the middle of a briefing about a deadly wildfire, Joe Biden starts talking about becoming a great-grandfather. Now, being a great-grandfather is a big deal, and it should be celebrated, but there's a time and place, right? People are losing their homes. 2 lives have already been lost, and over 30,000 Californians have been evacuated. This was a moment to show leadership, to focus on the people affected, and Joe Biden completely dropped the ball again. I keep asking the question, why do they let him go out to these things? Why doesn't Dr. Jill just keep him in the White House? There was no reason for him to be there, other than he wanted to ride on Air Force One yesterday. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom, as President-elect Trump calls him, the smelt protector, Trump took to Truth Social yesterday, called out Newsom for prioritizing environmental policies over the needs of Californians. He reminded everyone of Newsom's resistance to redirect water to the Central Valley, a decision tied to protecting the endangered smelt fish. The smelt fish is like a minnow. It serves no purpose. You don't eat it. Trump put it bluntly, saying he wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt, but didn't care about the people of California. Now the ultimate price is being paid. And here's the kicker. Fire hydrants across Los Angeles County literally are running out of water. There's not enough water in a state that's been embroiled in water mismanagement controversies for decades. They're running out of water. It's hard enough that firefighters are having to work 48-hour shifts and they don't have the water to fight these fires. This is what happens when you prioritize woke environmentalism over practical solutions. You get a municipal water system that can't even support fire hydrants during a wildfire. Kristen Crowley is the Los Angeles fire chief who described the conditions as unprecedented. She said, quote, "We knew there was a significant threat from the Pacific Palisades fire because of the high winds." She's a 25-year veteran, by the way. She admitted she's never seen wind conditions like these. Meanwhile, the fires have consumed 22 square miles, destroyed homes, claimed at least 2 lives. Yet Joe Biden and Gavin Newsom seem more concerned with patting themselves on the back than addressing the root causes of these disasters. I mean, if you watch the video of this yesterday, you have Gavin Newsom, Joe Biden, and a couple others. I don't know who the other officials are. They're standing in a room with a large TV monitor, and it's like they have a PowerPoint presentation that they're going through the president for, and they let the press come in to look. Served no purpose whatsoever. Meanwhile, you have devastating images. Smoke blanketing downtown Los Angeles. A Christmas tree engulfed in flames inside of a home in Pacific Palisades. A church burning in Pasadena. The Altadena Community Church is gone. Just another casualty of California's failure to prepare adequately for wildfire season. And you got Joe Biden proudly talking about Hunter Biden's grandchild. I mean, look, with all that Hunter Biden's been through, I don't think I would even bring him up when I don't have to. Wow. And look, let's just be honest here. This isn't just a natural disaster. It's a man-made policy failure in California. California's leaders have had decades to prepare and to be ready for these type fires. They focus on virtue signaling, pushing environmental agendas that do nothing to mitigate the real threats. And let's not forget the water crisis. The Los Angeles County Department of Public Works admitted the municipal system wasn't designed to handle wildfires. Wow. You weren't ready for it, huh? Imagine that, a state plagued by wildfires year after year. They didn't think to design its water infrastructure to handle them, to be able to fight them. Look, Joe Biden, Gavin Newsom can stand there and make all the promises they want, but actions speak louder than words. Californians don't need platitudes or off-topic announcements about great-grandchildren. They need leadership. They need help. They need solutions, and they need it right now. In the final days of President Joe Biden's administration, Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, along with 13 other Republican-led states, including South Carolina, Alan Wilson, have filed a lawsuit challenging new federal energy-efficient housing standards. They argue that these rules set by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, one of these last-minute Joe Biden programs, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture, that they're burdensome, that they exceed federal authority, and undermine affordable housing options. They never think about these things. Just like the water heater ban that Joe Biden announced earlier in the week. He never thinks about the idea that low-income people are going to have trouble affording those water heaters when theirs goes out and they have to replace it with one of the Joe Biden expensive ones. This coalition that is suing the Biden administration, joined by the National Association of Home Builders, says that the standards impose higher upfront costs on homes, limiting choices for buyers during an already challenging economic period and already period of time when housing is just unaffordable. Reyes criticized the timing, saying, even as our nation prepares to transition to a new administration, the outgoing HUD and USDA offices are committed to inflicting unwanted and unneeded cost increases on Americans. It's like they want to inflict as much pain as they can before they leave. The lawsuit claims that the administration relies on private organizations like the International Code Council to set standards beyond what Congress has intended. The lawsuit also argues that the rules raise housing costs, contradicting the Biden administration's claims of long-term savings through energy efficiency. I mean, again, this is the latest in a series of legal challenges by Republican attorneys general. There's been a number of them during the Biden administration. Mr. Paxton, a vocal critic, noted that this marks his 103rd lawsuit against the administration, stating it's necessary to curb executive overreach. And I agree with that. We've got to stop presidents using executive authority to usurp the legislative process. And that includes Donald Trump as well. That includes a president, I don't care what party you're in. Presidents should not be making policy through executive orders. Now, Donald Trump, he's going to sign a bunch of executive orders in just a couple of weeks to undo what Joe Biden has done. But I do hope that the idea of limiting executive authority, I hope that's something that President Trump will address during his 4 years in office. Earlier in the week, Joe Biden signed an executive order banning new drilling across 625 million acres of U.S. coastal and offshore waters. This move, of course, has faced swift backlash from critics, including President-elect Donald Trump's team, which vowed to reverse the policies upon taking office. We just hope that he can. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton commented, Biden's actions demonstrate a pattern of disregard for constitutional limits and economic realities, further highlighting the need for legal accountability. As Biden's term ends, Republican-led states continue to push back against what they view as federal overreach, setting the stage for what's going to be a contentious policy reversal under the incoming Trump administration. It's going to be a busy, busy first few weeks for sure. Wow. I don't know that I'll ever understand what Joe Biden and his administration, what they're trying to accomplish, doing these type things in these final weeks of his administration. It's just obvious the damage that they're doing. It's obvious they don't care about you and me. It's criminal. I mean, it is borderline criminal what Joe Biden is doing to this nation in his final weeks in office. January 20th can't get here quick enough, folks. And boy, is that going to be one more day. And I'm so happy I'm going to be there on the National Mall watching Donald J. Trump being sworn in to another term. It's going to be a big day for sure. Let's go to the text line and get you updated on some messages. Thank you. I love your texts. I love your emails. Joey@joeyhudson.com. Ray writes, good day, Joey. Just to keep it light, Jimmy Carter died at 100. He will be 101 by the time he is buried. It is a long process, for sure, yes. Tony says, Joey, all I have to say about Trump's comments concerning Panama and the Gulf of America is this. He is doing exactly what he was elected to do, make America great again. Texter, Joey, I don't know how any red-blooded American could see any good in Joe Biden. He and his handlers have all but destroyed our beautiful country and have lined their pockets at the security risk of our country. If I were in control, Biden would be tried for treason. Just heard a rep from Tennessee telling the astronomical amount of money that Biden committee has paid the Taliban each month. And the Dems think they should have been given 4 more years. They really thought Americans were brain dead for sure. But we showed them January the 20th can't get here soon enough. You're so right. For sure. Texter says, Jerry. Jerry has a good question here. Jerry says, is Facebook going to let all those previously censored messages finally go through? This in response to yesterday's announcement by Mark Zuckerberg that he is making a total overhaul of how Facebook monitors what you and I write, our post. He's firing what he says is a third-party group that up until now has been responsible for monitoring our comments. He's moving the whole operation to Texas. Christie says, I think Trump needs to discuss how he will be helping the American people be able to live better, afford medicine and food, and keep these headlines of Greenland, Panama Canal, etc. to a minimum. The average American probably doesn't have much of a clue about these things. They just know that bread is higher, milk is higher, medicine is higher. Start with a little picture of the day to day, then go to the big picture of the world info. Just my opinion. Thank you, Christy. Jordan writes, that's good news about Facebook getting back to free speech, but what about those of us who got lifetime bans for spreading the truth? Good question, Jordan. Jordan says, are they going to reverse the ban, or are we stuck with it? I received multiple violations about things I posted about the Biden crime family, J6, Fauci, and COVID that eventually led to my Facebook being shut down completely and banned. My opinions are my own. If you or someone doesn't like them, just keep scrolling. But to permanently ban someone was my final straw with social media. Just curious. Well, Jordan, I don't know for sure, but I do suspect that there'll be a renewed appeals process, and there'll be some different eyes looking at those now. So if you want back on Facebook, if I were you, I would just monitor it in the coming weeks, and there'll be a lot of news around the changes that Zuckerberg's making. And I think you'll probably have another opportunity to appeal and might be able to get your account reinstated. Mr. Thomas in Morganton, North Carolina, says Mark Zuckerberg is scared out of his mind, and the only reason why he's doing this now is because he's scared that the red wave is going to crush Meta if he doesn't start backpedaling fast. I believe that he wants nothing to do with freedom of speech. Well, you may be right, but I do think he got the message that Americans are tired of their voices not being heard or trying to be silenced. And he's a businessman. So I guess he figures that if he's going to stay in business, he's got to get with the program. I think it's just crazy. I think it's hilarious that he gave $1 million to Trump's inauguration. And that he ran down to Mar-a-Lago to court Trump. Scott from Toccoa writes on the text line, on the Panama Canal, I was about 10 years old when Carter gave it up. I remember even as a child, I thought that was a bad idea, but I also vaguely remember there was a lease involved that had run out, and that was the reason Carter gave it up. It was promoted as he didn't have a choice. I need to research that. I don't really remember the exact circumstances on why or how Carter felt compelled to give up the Panama Canal. I'll check on that. We'll talk about that on another day. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass returned from Ghana yesterday amid fierce criticism for her absence as wildfires have ravaged her city. There's been a lot of talk over the last 24, 48 hours of where the mayor is, and she was over in Africa at the inauguration of some foreign leader. She's not even going to go to the inauguration of her president, but she was over there at the inauguration of a foreign entity. She arrived at LAX, refused to respond to reporters' questions about whether she owed an apology to residents for being away and for cutting millions from the Los Angeles Fire Department's budget earlier in the year. Sky News reporter David Blevins happened to be on the jetway when the mayor was coming off of the plane. He asked her, do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Here's the mayor.
Owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster?
If that seemed like a one-sided conversation, it was. Because all you had was David Blevins asking her, and she just stood there staring off into space. I'm assuming they were waiting on the jetway to clear or something, and she had nowhere to go, and so he kind of had her backed in the corner. But she was stone-faced. She wasn't saying a word, and she was mad. She was madder than a wet hen, as we say in the South. She didn't have anything she could say. She remained silent. She disembarked from the plane, ignored further questions about her trip and the unfolding crisis that she had come back to. Again, she was in Ghana as part of a Biden administration delegation for the presidential inauguration when the fire broke out. Critics have questioned her priorities, pointing out that her absence coincided with a critical time for the city. Adding to the scrutiny, Bass had previously cut $17.6 million from the Los Angeles Fire Department budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, falling short of the $20 million reduction she had originally proposed. So she's cut millions and millions from the fire department's budget. It's no wonder that they're not equipped to fight the fire. Her critics argue that these cuts have strained resources, leaving firefighters under-equipped, underfunded during one of the most catastrophic fires in Los Angeles history. And she's off in a foreign country for Joe Biden. The mayor's trip to Africa and her budget cuts have people in Los Angeles furious. Ashley Hayek, president of the America First Works, called her actions insane, accusing the mayor of prioritizing international engagements over her constituents' safety. Social media, as you can imagine, erupted with criticism, with many blaming Mayor Bass for inadequate preparedness and resources to combat the wildfires. Look, she's just like Gavin Newsom. She's been off fighting these woke battles, promoting DEI within the city agencies, including the fire department. There was a story on Jesse Waters last night. I forget the guy's name, but a white guy who talked about he had applied for a firefighter's position, and he was told, because he was a white man, not to even bother, to come back in about 7 years, that only blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and females were being hired. Wow. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. Last night was the first meeting of the Greenville County Council since last year's election. There was a bit of a shakeup. And I think this story is probably a little more than just local politics. It's a case study in what happens when everyday citizens push back against government that they believe is not listening to them. So let me set the stage here. Greenville County Council, the governing body of South Carolina's largest county, just experienced what the Post-Courier called a seismic shift in power. Thanks to an influx of new members, the council's priorities are being completely redefined, and that includes taking aim at a controversial property tax increase that was passed by the council last year. Here's the deal. In 2023, the council narrowly approved a property tax increase, the first in 30 years. For a $200,000 home, it's about $58 more a year. Now, supporters argued this was necessary to keep services like law enforcement and EMS running in a growing county. It was a big news item at the time. A lot of debate went into this. We talked about it quite a bit on this radio show. But let's be honest, people weren't buying into it. Voters weren't buying into it. They felt like that there was other ways that these services could have been provided rather than going back to the well. Critics slammed it as a government overreach, a sign of fiscal mismanagement, questions on how money was being spent at the county level. And guess what? Voters pretty much agreed with those critics. In the June primaries last year, 3 Republicans who backed the tax hike were defeated by challengers attacking the increase from the right. These newcomers, Gary Collins, Kelly Long, and Kurt McGahey, are bringing a mandate for change to Greenville County Council. The first big sign of this political shift came last night. During the council's first meeting of the year, Benton Blunt, a vocal critic of the tax increase, was unanimously elected as the new chairman of the Greenville County Council. Chairman Blunt, a former contestant on the popular America's Got Talent, told Fox Carolina that his switch from entertaining people with his music to serving in local government is all about the people.
It's not really about politics for me, it's about people. Once I found out that local government really does guide the future of where you live, and I have 3 young kids, it kind of made me want to get involved with public service.
And Blunt has been a voice against the business as usual, if you will, on county council since he was elected. He made it very clear after being elected chairman of the council that he wants to repeal the 2023 tax increase as soon as possible. And that could be a huge win for taxpayers. Here's what he told the Post and Courier. We're going to look at every department's budget to cut spending, but emergency services and the sheriff's department will not be touched. Now, that's what we want, right? At least have the willingness to take a look. We have to start thinking in terms of spending cuts at all levels of government. This isn't just the federal government. It has to filter down to state government, to local government. That's what the people on November the 5th said loud and clear. We need to take another look at spending. We got to get government under control. And yes, they spoke very loudly in the national election. But this filtered down to local elections as well. And that's what Chairman Benton Blunt is saying. He's saying, let's roll back the tax hike, but we're not going to compromise public safety. That's leadership, folks. But the changes don't stop there. Post and Courier say that the council is also eyeing amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance, known as the UDO, a document that guides how Greenville County handles growth and development. Now, critics say that the UDO gives too much power to unelected planning staff and pushes density policies that don't align with what the community wants. You got a lot of growth going on in Greenville County right now. New developments popping up everywhere. Some people think that developers are being given too much leeway in how many homes they cram into a particular area. According to the Post and Courier, Blunt's approach, he's not going to look to repeal the UDO outright like some of his colleagues. Instead, he's calling for specific changes, strategic changes, tightening restrictions on county planning staff and overhauling density rules. This is about balancing growth with preserving the character of Greenville's neighborhoods. Here's another move that I think deserves recognition. Councilman Blunt plans to add a 30-minute public comment section at the end of every council meeting. He's saying, I want to hear from you, even if it's critical. And this is how you rebuild trust between citizens and their government. He said, I hope that my willingness to entertain a conversation, even if it's harsh, will give people the sense that they can speak their minds. And again, that's refreshing because I think people have come to think of not just Greenville County Council, but city councils, school boards, that they're smarter than everybody in the room. And they don't need to hear from the people. They know what's best for us. That's kind of the attitude that the council had last year when they passed his tax increase. Was, you don't know what we know what's best for you. When people were clearly opposed to it, and that was reflected in last year's primaries. And, you know, some of the people who were defeated last year, they're good people. and they went to county council to serve. And you have to applaud anybody who puts their name on the ballot. But you got to listen to what the voters want. And that's, listen, if you are an elected official listening today, or if you're considering running for public office, what's happening in Greenville County, I believe, is proof that elections matter. Voters were fed up with what they viewed as higher taxes, government overreach, a council largely not listening to them, so they took action. Now we have a new majority on the council, a governing body ready apparently to put taxpayers first. Again, we'll wait and see. We'll see, because these things tend to change. How many times have we seen an elected representative go in with good intentions and everything changes once they assume office? Let's hope that doesn't happen. We'll be following this. We'll be keeping an eye on this new council. And again, a reminder to every politician out there, if you ignore the will of the people, they're going to find someone who listens. That's what democracy looks like. That's what our system of government looks like. As an elected representative at whatever level, if you ignore what the people who put you there have to say, they're going to replace you every time. I promise you. That's a fact of life. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.